Hello. Quick content warning for this podcast. When we talk about Leo episode 17, we get into some pretty blunt discussion about metaphorical sexual violence. We have included timestamps in the show notes if you're interested in skipping that. Otherwise, enjoy the episode. Hello, you are listening to Ultra Q, episode 97. My name is Red. I'm joined by Mel.
Hey, I got a script idea for a horror themed episode.
Okay, hit me.
Yeah, it has some kind of vampire in it.
Okay.
I also have a second script of a horror themed episode if you want it.
Okay, what's the second script?
It has some kind of vampire in it.
Okay, so we're gonna have to change one of these to not be a vampire. Like, it can still be a vampire, but what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to say one of them's like a werewolf instead. Is that okay with you?
I think I can work with this.
Yeah, I think that we can work with that. Cool. Not joined by Brad this week. Brad is not feeling well.
Very last minute.
Very last minute.
Much like me uploading the ARC episode immediately before recording.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I came up with it was like Friday night or something. I came up with the genius idea to spread out the podcast a little more, so Turtle Tea Time would go up yesterday, and then today, on the Sunday, the ARC episode would go out. And this was not at all motivated by my desire to watch VTuber streams.
Yeah, definitely not.
No. Nimi played Age of Empires 2 with Mint. I hope that people watch that and the main feeling they take away from that is, oh, I could play this game. I've never played an RTS before, but I could play this game. They're not very good at Age of Empires.
Could you take them?
Yes, and I'm not good at Age of Empires. We have got 3 more episodes of Ultraman Leo coming up. We have entered a horror-themed sort of... We've entered our first series, right?
Is this the summer horror series or like springish horror series?
I think this is the summer horror series. I think that's what it's called.
It's not actually called that.
Is it not? I think there was like an episode that was the full title was something like horror series. The Werewolf's Bride one. I picked up on that.
Yeah, let me just check while you're talking about your stuff.
And you know it's the horror series because it's got some sexual assault content.
Oh yeah, the thing that horror people love to write.
They do. This is true. But yeah, we gotta.
I might actually have to open up the episode to do this.
Yeah, that's three spooky episodes. Before we get to any of that, we've got our usual stuff.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first, or do I want to go first?
I don't have much, so I guess I can go first.
You can go first. You can join in on one of my things anyway.
Yeah, I got a couple. I watched a couple movies. One of them I feel like I don't actually have much to talk about. Because I just like, I guess it just speaks for itself. Maybe. I watched Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh yeah, that is a classic I've somehow not seen.
Yeah, it seems like this is, I haven't watched a lot of westerns, and it seems like this is a significant one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, neat. I didn't know it was important, but I guess it is. And it's like 3 hours. And
as Sergio Leone was wont to do at the time.
Yeah.
Make a 3-hour western. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is one of the longest movies ever made. Now, it's not one of the longest movies ever made, but it feels like the longest movie ever made. But yeah, Once Upon a Time in the West, Sergio Leone classic.
Appropriately, our Golden Camway pod will also be like the longest podcast ever made.
Yeah. 2 month separation between episodes.
Yeah.
Like several volumes of manga at a time.
Yeah, we'll see how long it actually takes. It's either 10 months or 6 or 12 months.
We're experimenting. We're experimenting with the form of podcasting.
Yeah. One day we'll figure out how to do a novel in Tijo Quarry. But not
yeah. No.
But yeah, it's basically like I guess it's like, I don't know. I guess I don't know what to say. It's just like, oh, there's cool shots. The guys are pretty neat. The opening scene is pretty cool because there's like 3 guys waiting at a train station for the protagonist, who's just like a guy known as Harmonica.
Mm-hmm.
Because he plays a harmonica.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good moment where they introduce themselves, where it's like, we came here to greet you from our boss Frank. And Harmonica's like, did you bring a horse for me? And he sees like there's like only 3 horses, and they're like, oh no, we don't have any, sorry. And then he's like, it seems like you brought, actually, and from my point of view, it seems like you brought two horses too many. And then you know what happens from there.
And owns them.
Yeah.
Get fucked.
Yeah, and then you get like later, because like the plot of the movie is based around, there's like there's a gangster like leader, a gang leader called Cheyenne, who's kind of like the big deal around town, but he's actually a pretty decent guy. But there's been a series of murders of like an entire family, including the children, by this guy named Frank, because he wants the guy's land. And the guy who died's like a new wife came in on train like the day after he died, basically, and is stuck with like the property, and also like a dead family that she never got to meet. But like Cheyenne has like this, his gang has like this iconic overcoat thing, and like the guys who framed, like, basically they kind of like pinned it on him by like doing they tried to pin on him. And so you have like this uneasy alliance between Harmonica and Cheyenne, and partially motivated by like he has unfinished business with Frank, even though Frank doesn't know who he is, or what the motivation is, and then you find out, and it's like, damn, that goes pretty hard, actually. And it's pretty enjoyable movie, I'd say. I assume that if you're a Western head,
it's one you gotta watch.
One you gotta watch, and one you'd probably enjoy a lot.
Yeah,
especially because I imagine it's like, oh, it's the thing. This is like, oh, this is how he follows up like the Dollars trilogy, I guess.
Yes. It's yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird. I haven't seen, like, there's a lot of, because I'm not like, I would not say I've seen loads of Westerns, but like I've seen like most of the big ones, and like this one's kind of just missing off the list. Strange.
I'd be curious to hear what you think of it as like someone who's at least more versed in the genre, to like say like what it's doing different or significant, like how it's in conversation with the rest of the genre, or at least the director's previous works.
Leone kind of invented like a new style of these movies, right? Because the Dollars movies are like kind of fresh. Like that, Sergio Leone makes the kind of movies that John Wayne doesn't like, right? Which is interesting. To be honest, it's very easy to make a movie John Wayne doesn't like. John Wayne didn't like High Noon. John Wayne described High Noon as deeply un-American.
Well, I probably don't care too much what John Wayne thinks.
No, he's John Wayne's a ridiculous man.
My only frame of reference for John Wayne is like he's because he's I guess like a stand-in as like the Western star. There's like I guess like a cultural touchstone in like the sort of like broader like North American indigenous community movie called Smoke Signals that I have to watch at some point.
Okay.
Where like at some point I've only seen this clip out of context, but like I guess like two of the main characters, they're like indigenous teenagers and they get on a bus and get like racism happen to them. And they feel kind of bad about it, but then they start singing. It's sort of like, I guess, like a middle finger to everyone else on the bus. They kind of just like start singing a song loudly about how John Wayne sucks. That's pretty good.
That's right. He does suck. Very true. Yeah, he's John Wayne, kind of like the biggest face in westerns, but like he kind of falls off because you get new big faces like Clint Eastwood, who is a conservative, but like is like way more. Clint Eastwood is capable of making movies about the Wild West that John Wayne would be like, you're like a dirty communist and you need to be eradicated.
Yeah. John Wayne probably being like, I was trying to think of something clever, but I only kind of
the joke goes sometimes.
Yeah. Something about like him just having like genocidal impulses, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I yes. He did. This is true. The fucking if I do think if you're ever gonna watch like another Western, I think like Unforgiven's probably the reference. I mean, to be there's also the Japanese remake set in Hokkaido.
Yeah, that's the one I remember. It's like, oh wait, that's the one that's got remade and set in Hokkaido.
Yeah.
I guess I need to watch it as homework for Golden Kamuy. But I guess as we established, I got plenty of time to do homework for Golden Kamuy.
Unforgiven's just a fucking banger movie, honestly. It's crazy how good Unforgiven is. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yes, Once Upon a Time in the West, classic. I haven't seen for some reason. I should probably watch that.
Yeah, I mainly watched it because like there is going to be the next repertory screenings pod, and I'm like, well, I probably should at least watch one Western before we talk about Golden Kamuy. So I may as well do this one because the timing is just fell in my lap.
I think the film, because technically Once Upon a Time in the West is technically part of a trilogy. I don't know how this. It's a bit much to call this a trilogy, maybe, but because the third one's like
not a Western.
Yeah, it's a gangster movie.
Yeah, that's what I saw. And I saw the second. The middle one was like
Mexican Revolution.
Like, Mexican Revolution. It has like two different names or something.
Okay.
But I think one was a fistful of dynamite. So. But
yeah, the other one's Duck You Sucker, which a fistful of dynamite seems like a better title.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, there's you know, the Western is like because it's like such a weird topic to blow up as like its own genre.
Yeah, it feels weird as a genre because like a genre about a specific historical period for a specific place that also comes with the baggage of that place.
Yeah.
Because it's colonialism.
Yeah, you wind up with a lot of very interesting takes on it where it's like it's one that's, for me, I appear to have made a habit of watching and reading things that I fundamentally disagree with but find interesting.
Yeah. I'm like, it's like if they made a genre of the Eastern Front.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I read at some point that there's like, I forget the name of it because it's like in Afrikaans, but like there's a literary genre that grew out in South Africa as like a result of like a part of Africa's bush wars with like in Angola and Namibia, etc.
Of course.
Which I guess is like I guess a similar kind of thing, like the settler frontier.
See, now that makes me think of a movie that is not good and I do disagree with and don't find interesting as The Wild Geese, which is this it's a ludicrously racist movie. Starring Richard Burton, Roger Moore, and this other guy that I can't remember. Extremely racist war film. Terrible. Anyway.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah. Maybe one day I'll check out some of this guy's other movies. Like I guess I heard that like the first the rest of the Dollars trilogy is like, what's that one again?
Oh, Yojimbo. A Fistful of Dollars is basically a Yojimbo ripoff.
Oh yeah, Yojimbo like Kurosawa, White, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I watched Stray Dog this week as well.
Yo, that's a good movie.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I think when I talked about Rashomon or at some other point, I think somewhere in between this and Rashomon, I think I said something to the effect of like this was like a 1-2 punch, like he did this right after Rashomon or after. I think I was wrong. I looked up and he did Scandal after.
Okay.
Yeah, this is not a samurai movie. It's a detective.
It's a cop movie.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I think I read this is actually like one of the first, like the prototype for the buddy cop movie, which is fascinating to me because like
that makes sense. Kind of.
It feels like weird to say watch a thing that's old enough to be the first of an established thing, and then you realize, well, I guess some of them has to be first. It's just like
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about a guy who, a more straight-laced, earnest young cop who loses his gun in a pickpocketing incident, and gets really single-mindedly fixated on it.
Yeah, he like develops like this extreme, like any act of violence done with this gun is I've killed that person.
Yeah, and like you have like first half of the movie is basically him like going super hardcore investigation and then like basically kind of like pardon the pun, pulling the trigger too early on is like on the investigation by like arresting the first guy he meets. And then because of that, he's just kind of like, well, we're gonna put you up with like the more chill and experienced cop, who's like more of a mentor figure. But then also through the film, you got like different perspective where like the young cop, he's like Toshiro Mifune. He's like, I became a cop because I was, I saw how injustice, like the world sucked in post-war Tokyo. And I felt like I wanted to like do something about it, and also like he shows like he understands the circumstances of like some of the people who are like doing the crimes, and he's like, I can empathize with them. And meanwhile, the older cop is like, that's not how you be a good cop. You gotta like freeze their heart. you gotta just think of just gotta think of them as bad guys who you gotta beat.
It's an interesting dynamic where like the guy who's like clearly crazy gonna kill someone is also the one who's like the reason he's that way is because he's like, well, I'm one of these people, and the chill older guy who's like, oh yeah, this is, you got to stop being crazy all the time. He's like, no, you can't be thinking like that.
Yeah, it's just like it's fun. He's introduced having like the most chill interrogation with the guy Mifune arrested, and he's like they're just having a popsicle in the cell because the whole movie's like, oh, there's a heat wave.
Yes. God, there's that great scene where everyone's fanning themselves and then someone like drops some information on them and every single one stops.
Yeah. There's definitely like, because the movie is how old it is, there's like a stylistic vibe that feels like disconnected with my brain, because I think there's like definitely movies changed in a big way in the course of the next decade and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Just with the way like how music is used, and obviously like new cutting techniques or transition techniques and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember like seeing like the opening scene where you get the flashback of the pickpocketing and the chase scene, the music is playing in the background. I was like, this feels weird to my modern brain the way this is done, even though I know that's like just a style at the time. And like I remember like something similar, like there's a similar style to Rashomon, because there's like within a year of each other by the same guy. Yeah, it's like I think I was not as on board in the first half of the movie, but once you get like the the older cop actually in the movie, then it starts getting more like compelling, especially in the last third, where you have like it's the rainstorm happening, and like he's trying to like call in the rain, and how that goes wrong. Honestly, kind of surprised that everyone kind of makes it out of this movie, to be honest.
Yeah, it does feel a bit like, wasn't that guy supposed to be dead? Didn't you kill that guy? I figured you killed that guy, and then no, he's okay.
And honestly, even the confrontation at the end, like I also almost thought the protagonist was going to die as well.
Yeah.
But instead, well, first off, we get like kind of like Rashomon, like a really kind of pathetic scrambling between two guys.
That's that Kurosawa magic.
I guess, he just likes that. It's
the Seven Samurai in particular is one where like obviously there's a lot of action in that film, but it's not like it's not like cool necessarily. It's weird. It is cool, but it's like in a different way. I would not describe anything that happens in Seven Samurai as a fight scene. But yeah, this is kind of Kurosawa's into this.
Yeah. I think I do remember that they did just make a Clone Wars episode about this movie.
They did. It was Clone, right?
Was this the one that was dedicated to Kurosawa, or was it
No. This was not the one dedicated to Kurosawa. This is the one that was dedicated to Kurosawa. Was one where the Jedi rocked up in a town that grows the plant that makes Bacta or something, and it's getting besieged by Hondo and some pirates of his. And the Jedi team up with some mercenaries, including an extreme Dave Filoni OC. And it's a terrible episode of Clone Wars. It's truly dire, and it opens with like in loving memory of Kurosawa, because it's a Seven Samurai riff. And it's like you can't know. You have to make a better episode if you're gonna do that.
And then he also did Stray Dog.
They also did Stray Dog. They kept that one low key. Here's the thing: you can steal from Stray Dog. No, like Stray Dog isn't one of the most famous movies ever made in the way that Seven Samurai is.
Even though it's the first buddy cop movie. Now that you're describing how, like, in the first half of the movie, you're like, yeah, and then the second half, once the other cop shows up, you're like kind of more locked in. I'm imagining people at the time going to see this movie and having the revelation, oh, what if there were two cops? What if you had one guy who is real, like, by the book, and the other guy who is a bit more flexible, and together they fight crime?
God, it's like it's an electric combination. I wonder if anyone else is having the same idea as me to make more movies like this.
Yeah, I guess like the idea that like this could be possibly like the creation of this genre is like introduced halfway through as like the gimmick of the movie is like an interesting idea.
Yeah. Man.
Also, extended baseball sequence.
There is an extended baseball sequence. They try to arrest the guy at a baseball game.
Japan loves baseball.
Japan loves baseball.
It feels like a weird quirk of history that Japan got really into baseball.
It's I think of the various things that America has impressed upon Japan, I think baseball is one of the more harmless ones. I think Japan being into baseball, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it did. I think when I looked it up, it did happen before like the occupation, but I'm assuming the occupation helped.
It helped. You know what? I have never considered this. When did Japan get into baseball?
Yeah, I actually know this Dave. I think it's like earlier in the 1900s.
Baseball was introduced to Japan in 1872. Its first formal team was established in 1878. It was free for 30 years because it was considered shameful to take money for it. It was considered shameful to take money for doing something the players liked.
That's fine.
That's fun. Anyway, Japanese baseball. In 1934, the Greater Japan Tokyo Baseball Club was established, reviving professional baseball. So yeah, Japan just really took to baseball at some point.
They just feel like, I don't know, something about it just clicked culturally.
They're just like, this is kind of cool. I mean, baseball is one of those. It's one of those things where it's like team sport, but like all based on like individual performance.
Right.
It's a weird one. It's kind of like cricket, like that. Cricket. That's kind of the cricket has like going British. I do not watch cricket, but I know things about cricket. Cricket is one of those sports where like there's a lot of people who kill themselves in cricket, like a weirdly high amount, because it's a team sport and it's all based on like individual pressure. It's like psychologically overwhelming.
Unlike the introduction of baseball to Japan, the path of events that leads to a prime minister of Pakistan being a former cricket star is very clean and easy to see.
Yes. No, listen. No one was involved with that. India and Pakistan they just really like cricket for no reason. That came from nowhere. You don't have to interrogate that history whatsoever.
I think I found out in the past year that like the etymology of Pakistan is actually an acronym.
Is it?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
The letters were from like the different regions, like Punjab, Kashmir.
Okay.
Which is interesting because like, where did that name come from? It's just like they made an acronym and stuck Stan at the end. I think that's kind of amusing.
Nice. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah,
I did not know that. Anyway. Stray Dog.
Yeah, like I said, I am surprised the movie ends with everyone kind of like alive.
kind of bloodless.
Spoilers for
ending.
Like a over 70-year-old movie, but
Yeah. It's still very good. People should watch it anyway. It's good.
Yeah, it did feel like a appropriate one to watch. It's the next one.
Nice.
But yeah, that's me for this week. I'm trying to finish off some stuff to clear off my plate / hard drive.
Yeah. Well, you don't get to stop talking though, because I watched the wonderful Precure movie. Brad very kindly absented himself once.
Very kindly woke up with a headache. It's like I can't record today.
Woke up with a really bad migraine. detected that I had watched the wonderful Precure movie and went, it's time to perform my duty.
He's gonna have egg on his face when Ave Musica finishes next week.
I have not been. I should catch up. I have not been keeping up.
The last episode drops on the day this episode drops.
Oh damn! Well, okay. I guess that's what I'm doing. All right. Well, yeah, I watched the wonderful Precure movie.
Yeah.
You know, it was okay.
Yeah. That's how I feel.
Yeah. It was maybe a really bad decision to watch the Heartcatch movie like last Sunday and then watch, this movie like about a week later. It doesn't stack up.
It definitely doesn't stack up.
No.
Definitely coughing baby hydrogen bomb scenario.
Absolutely. This movie is extremely mid. What if Sword Art Online was in Fall Guys is the premise of this movie.
Yeah.
They get taken in by this Tanuki who is a program in the game, who was put in the game by a mournful indie game dev whose game got big, and then she joined signed it away to like a real studio and now works there, and has got the program has gone rogue because it's a lonely Tanuki that wants to be with her, because that's her backstory, is she made friends with the Tanuki, and then the Tanuki gets drags in humans who love their pets to spend time to keep the Tanuki company. Yeah. And that includes Iroha and Mayu. And so all the animals go into the game, and they all have 3D models that stand up and walk around of them in animal form. And I was like, this is wrong. This is so fucked up to look at.
And then meanwhile, you have two other Precure teams just watching on the sideline.
Yeah, they're just they're not really hanging out with the main cast of Wonderful Precure.
No.
Which I thought was kind of one of the appeals of these crossover movies, was the characters hung out.
Yeah.
They didn't do that this time.
It feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah. And I don't know the witchy Precure girls, but I assume, that seems like is that one of the popular ones? That seems like it's a little more, it's got some...
I'm not sure. I remember thinking, I was, a bit more on it when it aired.
Oh, okay.
Though I remember it's, people like the finale, at least. But also it's the one where it's, people lock in on... Because it's a 2+1 team. Mm-hmm. People lock in on, the Yuri power of the main duo.
I see.
Which includes, the official manga having a kiss scene, maybe?
Oh, wow.
Not scene, but just a shot panel.
Yeah.
I have to catch up on the sequel series that's airing right now and almost done. With their adults.
Hang on, they do sequels?
It's a really in the past year ish. For the guys, there's the 20th anniversary.
They did the Yes 5 girls.
Yeah, they did the Yes 5 girls,
and now they've done the witchy ones.
Yeah, but they announced them at the same time. They just
I missed the witchy one. Anyway,
yeah.
And then you got a bunch of 3D CG action scenes.
Yeah,
including This is a Daifuku movie to me.
Yeah.
This is.
I mean, that's kind of it almost feels like that's the point of the movie.
Yeah. Whenever Daifuku's not on screen, I'm like, "Where's Daifuku?"
You gotta hear Yuichi Nakamura.
The door opens and someone says, "Daifuku, how are you talking?" And he just goes, "Sana." Who knows? It's shrugs with his little cool guy smirk. Ridiculous creature. And then his human design comes out when he gives like a whole bit where like he thinks he's accidentally wished to become a human being, and is like I don't even need a mirror to see what I look like. I understand. And then actually looks in a mirror and he hasn't changed a bit, and he's like, I didn't even want to be a human anyway.
Yeah. And then and then in the real world he's like, he got like the hoodie on.
He's got the hoodie, he's got the big floppy hair that looks like ears.
Yeah.
Daifku's cool. Big fan of Daifku. Daifku taking every opportunity to roast Satoru for being extremely obvious about being into Iroha.
Yeah. And the movie came out like before they became a couple, so it's like, it's real bad for him.
Yeah, I was like looking into between which episodes the movie came out. But yeah, I think mostly it's just kind of okay. I think it's like it's weird. It's kind of like they come back to the real world, and then we get some backstory kind of lobbed in at the end there, and some pathos for the.
I do think it's funny that like guy. the game dev is like, Satoru was really worried about his friends and loved ones, and Satoru was like, oh.
Just friends, just friends. Everything's
and like,
normal.
damn, I'm surprised you actually like, sent to this random programmer that you liked.
He tells everyone except Iroha. Yeah, I was kind of a little checked out on this one, but that's okay.
Me too. Not every one of these is gonna be a banger. That's like
nah. Once again, every time it happens in one of these movies where they show they give the clear signal for the kids in the theater to show the pen light thing or whatever. Yeah. I always think, what if you were in like an empty theater and you didn't have a pen light and like no one shined anything and Precure still won and you were 5 years old? What happens then? Magic ruined.
Yeah, well, if you tree falls in the forest, no one's there to hear it, etc., etc.
Yeah, etc., etc. But yeah, it's Precure movie. It was not the best Precure movie I've seen. The best Precure movie I've seen so far was the Heartcatch one I watched last week.
I forgot. Did you see the fresh one?
I saw the fresh one was also very good. I liked the fresh one a lot because
I remember Buki being like Bruce Lee or something.
Being what was that? Sorry,
Bruce Lee.
Yes. Also, they're trying to. It's just a fun. It's such a good film to show tiny children because it's about the toys are rebelling against their owners because their owners fall out of love with them. And then, at the end, if it says into camera, if you love toys, shine your light right now. And then, you shine your light to show that you love your toys that you've got at home. And then Precure win. And I was like, if I was 5 years old, I'd be crying right now. I'd be weeping.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about the Heartcatch movie, or do you want to save that for when you actually talk about Heartcatch later?
I don't necessarily have I'm probably not going to talk about the Heartcatch movie. I'll probably mention it when I talk about Heartcatch, yeah. Just because it's like, I just think the Heartcatch movie is like...
It's cool.
It's cool. It's just, the appeal of it is just characters you like hanging out in Paris, and also there is a new bad guy who's cool and a new character who is cool. Paris mentioned. Eiji Tsuburaya approves this movie. Yeah,
the best movies are the ones where like the bad guy is cool.
Yeah, the bad guy is simultaneously cool and also it turns out I am talking about the Heartcatch movie. The very end of the Heartcatch movie, where the bad guy has been beaten, and he's got his the other character in the movie who is tied to the bad guy and is like the main character of the movie basically, and is like they have this old relationship, and the bad guy is like, damn you, Precure, next time I'll get you. And this other character just fucking laughs. And it was like the realest moment of, guy, we're movie characters. That ain't happening. It's really funny that you think that you're gonna beat Precure one day.
Yeah.
It's so good. Oh, man. That movie's sick.
Yeah. I think, like, the
one... Oh, go for it.
No, go on. I'll say my thing after.
The one complaint I have is I couldn't find a version where the audio is normal. I don't know what the fuck is going on with the audio from, like, the Blu-rays of that movie.
Okay.
It was either like all the dialogue was in one ear, or the dialogue was like way louder than the rest of the movie, or like the dialogue was really tinny and the rest of the movie was really loud, and like this was just me switching between like different. I was just nightmare, awful.
Jeez.
But it was okay. It was okay in the end. Yeah. I coped and I enjoyed the movie.
I've realized it's been like a decade since I've watched two of my favorite shows, which is Heartcatch and Forza. And I should probably watch it at some point. Yeah. But one, I forget if this line was real. But I always like the screenshot of this movie where Ibuki says, "It sure is French here."
That does say that. It's
Itsuki, yeah.
I think it's Itsuki who says that. She's like, "It's sure is French here." This is in like the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's fun. I think a lot of like the movies that can't necessarily like be canon, though sometimes they like treat Sentai movies have been bad about this lately. Let me tell you. But I remember the Sweet Precure movie is fun because it feels like it directly happens in between a bunch of episodes. Like you can feel it as like taking place. There is a weirdness where they like a plot point that seems to come up in the movie is repeated in the episode after, because like, well, I guess everyone knows seen the movie. But also like the Smile Precure movie also has like, this feels like it like ties into the backstory of the Pink character of Smile Precure. But like they don't say it confirm in the show, but you can like read between the lines and like connect the dots, and I think that's fun. It's been so long since I watched these though. Like basically every like there she is. She's saying the line.
It sure is French here. I love that she's like covering her eyes, like she's peering off into the distance.
Yeah,
sure is French here.
Yeah. It's been so long since I watched like a pre-10s Precure. Well, no, it's I got into Precure. It's been like a decade since Go Princess, and basically every series before Go Princess I like watched a decade ago, and every series after Go Princess I watched when it aired. Except for like Futariwa and Max Heart, which are more recent for me. But even then, that's like a good while like earlier on in the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it's
wow.
At some point, I gotta like do those last 3 seasons I have not seen.
So the last you haven't seen the Splash Star. What are these? What are the other ones?
Yes, 5.
Yes, 5. Yeah, those are the ones.
Yeah.
I like Splash Star.
Yeah. Your opinion on Yes 5 is also known.
My opinion on Yes 5 is known. I do like that screenshot of the green girl saying to the blue girl, maybe there's an alternative. Maybe if we put our heads together, we can find an alternative to austerity. which I've posted before, being like trying to let your ease your parents into the fact that you've become a communist.
Yeah. The third Gamma movie is wild though in its political perspective. Let me tell you.
I saw you mentioning it's got some strange opinions.
Yeah, I'll just say it's a modernization / urban development build. Derogatory.
Wow. Well, I guess someone's got to make those movies. Someone's got to make the movies to disagree with. But yeah, Heartcatch Precure continues to be good. I will eventually talk about it in a little more detail. Yeah. The Heartcatch movie also had like a scene with Itsuki that I liked, which is impressive for Heartcatch because she's my least favorite. Which isn't to say I don't like her or anything. It's just
I think she end up being my least favorite as well, just because she doesn't get as much, and also her shtick is like
her shtick is like automatically starting with a handicap here.
Yeah, debuff.
Is like extreme debuff. Now you got a lot of work to do. Also, the coolest magical girl ever just showed up after we were done with you. Yeah. So like, what do you
And she's like,
it sucks to be you, I guess.
She's got the gimmick of being like a mentor one too, so that's like extra style points.
Moonlight showing up and having the fight scene where she just owns the 3 villains that everyone else struggles with all the time is so good.
Parries the villains.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's the coolest thing ever.
Also, her whole dramatic backstory stuff is great.
Yeah, it goes in like way harder than like most seasons do.
Yes, I like the 2 main girls. I love Erika and Tsubomi as like, sometimes I watch, I tune into a modern Precure, and the girls are a little too nice to each other. I think the girls should be mean to each other sometimes.
Yeah,
Erika ribbing Tsubomi is great.
I do think like in the past decade we've seen like
a
softening similar to like with Kamen Rider as well. Just like,
I was unaware that was happening in Kamen Rider. That's a shame.
Well, I think it's just they're just like it takes different forms. Like for instance, everyone's a rider now. I think it's one episode of that, but it's just like one of those things where it's like. It doesn't go as hard. It pulls its punches a lot more than like
the knowledge that Kamen Rider eventually reaches the point of everyone's a rider is like painful to me watching Kuga and being like, all these people are so great. I love the sicko doctor who's like a weird anatomy pervert. He's like out on a date with a woman. He's like, God, your clavicle's you got such a great clavicle.
Yeah, and the thing is like. Even in the early 2000s Rider, there's like a lot more riders. Mm-hmm. And in fact,
like Ryuki's on the way.
Yeah, like half of the after Kuga, like it's kind of like more riders is the norm, but you still have a lot of like a big supporting cast. And then like after Kabuto, you actually have a contraction kind of where you get less riders. And it's like isn't really until like Gaim you start getting like the big blow up of more riders again.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, the other thing that I did, I don't think there's anyone in my circle of friends these days that was around when this started. I think this is fully Ship of Theseus. Like everyone that I know online was not there at the time. Is like 8 years ago, maybe 7-8 years ago, I read The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. And I was like, I'm gonna read all of these. I then read the second one like a year later, and then the third one, I like read the third book is like 3 times as long as all the others. It's generally split into three volumes, and I read the first one. And then I took a break and then tried to read the second one, and I was like, I don't remember any of these people. And so I had to reread the first one with an audiobook, and then I still took forever reading the second one. And then the moment I finished the second one, I just blitzed through the third one. So I have finally finished all of them. So that's the Three Musketeers, 20 years after, and then the Vicomte de Bragelonne, which is like split into the Vicomte de Bragelonne, Louise de Valier, and the Man in the Iron Mask. The Man in the Iron Mask only kind of in the book for a little bit.
Oh, jeez.
You know, bit of a shame. It is what it is. That's an interesting series. Dumas is a strange guy. He's a strange figure. He's like a real romance. He is not, okay. Dumas suffers from a classic French disease, which is missing Napoleon. He's just kind of wishes that people were bolder and more ambitious and, less soft, and wants to go back to the old days. And so he frames that within like the reign of Louis XIV as kind of like wishing for the days of Henry IV. Yeah.
One is a lot of the romanticism for Napoleon also forgets that he's Corsican, which is also funny.
Yeah.
And also Dumas is half Haitian.
Right. Dumas is... his relationship with that seems strange. He seems... obviously, it seems important to him, but also, like...
is he the kind of guy who's trying to prove his Frenchness?
Yes. There's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of, like, letting his friends get away with being racist about him kind of shit. That is, the kind of thing you see in, like today in, like, different contexts. And, he's kind of... there are, like, anecdotes of his where he, like, jokes about it in a way that's, like, uncomfortable. It's weirdly kind of, like, inviting people to laugh at him about it. And, like, this is very, very interesting guy, and his, like, political affiliations are so... because, he's not into, like, absolute monarchy. He did partake in, like, one of the later, like, brief, like, revolutions. But he also just kind of enjoyed high society, enjoyed being involved, and so it's the third book, the Vicomte de Bragelonne, is like I would say the main thing is about the shift about the war between the nobility and Louis XIV's kind of establishment of absolute monarchy. Because like the whole of this series kind of tracks the creation of like France as a nation, right? Because Richelieu kicks that off, Mazarin continues with it, and then Louis XIV is where that's kind of like, yeah, this is a done deal. The nobility aren't shit anymore. Live with me in Versailles, and everything's gonna suck. You're gonna be so obsessed with etiquette that you're never gonna rebel against me. And so the kind of figures of this are like Fouquet and Colbert, who are like these famous French figures of French history. Fouquet, like the superintendent of finances under Louis XIV, falls out of favor, gets arrested, and Colbert, Fouquet's arch rival, who then winds up as kind of the prime minister, I think, of France. I can't remember exactly. Like favorite of Louis XIV, basically. And so this kind of historical backdrop for these novels is interesting, and it's interesting placing like the characters and their different take, because in the Three Musketeers, it's weird how uninvolved with all this the original book is. The Three Musketeers is mostly like looking and laughing at the Musketeers for being stupid and ridiculous. Athos is like a comic character, kind of, in how overbearing he is as like nobility and poverty. Like he beats his manservant if his manservant dares to speak. And then by 20 years after, we're getting into like this weird romanticism around the kings, around royalty, as like the Musketeers go off and try and nearly rescue Charles I of England from getting executed. And
the funny thing about that, is that based on my reading of the currently reading another book by the Dawn of the Apocalypse god Gerald Horne, Counter-Revolution of 1786, the book I'm reading right now in the middle of. His argument that like the English Civil War leading into the Glorious Revolution is what opened basically made like ended the royal monopoly on the African slave trade and opened up privatization of the economy and mass proliferation of the slave trade following it. Maybe this is the correct position for Dumas to take as someone who's
I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I think it's by accident, because he is, like Colbert, and he's mixed on Louis XIV and Colbert in the sense that he's like, oh, these men who have created this like tyranny, but also they do such wondrous things for France. They're like men of action. And, you look up Colbert, and one of his significant things is like establishing like laws around the French slave trade.
Yeah.
It's,
Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that. Never mind that the end of this book involves like Raoul, Athos's son, going off to he loses a romantic conflict with the king and then runs off to die in North Africa in a French colonial effort. And
he goes to the New Earth of Algeria.
Yeah, yes. This is like a noble thing to do. Right. This is a crazy thing about it, is that Dumas writes about this in the middle of France, like expanding, like getting more into like expansion in like Algeria and stuff.
I do think, just a sidebar,
it's weird. Yeah.
I do think one of the crazier, weird things about French rule in Africa is that Algeria was a part of France and not like a colony like everything else.
I was not aware of this.
Yeah, Algeria was like included as part of metropolitan France.
That's
administrative
okay.
wise.
Okay, France. Please relax.
Even though like literally every other French territory around it was like a colony.
I suppose the reasoning for this, like, Algeria's not that far away.
Maybe? I'm not sure. I actually don't know the reason for this.
It's like how much further away from Paris is Algeria from like Gascony?
I'll have to look up the reason why, but yeah.
Yeah. I've got to look at a map for a second. Like Algeria's right next to Morocco, right? And Tunisia. Like,
and Tunisia.
It's
like, between them.
It's not far away.
And then a bunch of like the into the Sahara. I'm like, well, that's crazy. Algeria was ruled as colony from 1830 to 48, and then made as multiple departments as integral part of France with the implementation of the Constitution of the Second Republic in 1848.
That's so cocky. That's so just that's just France.
It sounds like they annexed it as part of the revolutions of 1848, which is crazy to me.
Oh man.
Well, annexed as in like, legal integration as opposed to like as a colony, because
Yeah. Damn. Anyway, yes. I would say Dumas politically bizarre positions. Presumably they made sense to some people at the time. They don't to me now from where I sit. Like I can kind of piece together and understand them, but like sometimes he just adopts like such contradictory positions within like a very short frame of time that I'm like, this is so you're just it's like whatever is happening this week is what he's writing about at all times. But the other part of this is that once you get past the Three Musketeers, the Musketeers become old men. Well, first of all, they become middle-aged, and then later they become old men. And in the process of this, they become way cooler. Like middle-aged to old man D'Artagnan is so cool. He's a bastard. He's so awful, and he's sick about it. He's just completely politically apathetic and also addicted to political intrigue, and he just winds up doing crazy shit for people. And he's just once you get past the Three Musketeers, they're all drawn in like this much more distinct fashion, and by the time you get to the third book, you've got Aramis and D'Artagnan in like Old Man Yowie Death Note rivalry, which is fantastic. Big fan of that. There's like a chapter where like D'Artagnan and Aramis are talking around the fact that D'Artagnan has figured out Aramis is up to something, and D'Artagnan just starts saying like increasingly cool things. He's Aramis is like, but so you're definitely loyal to the king, but what if the king doesn't need you anymore? And D'Artagnan's like, I think you'll find the king will probably have need of me quite soon. Who will arrest a new Condé? This alone in all of France, and strikes his sword. He's a cool guy. It's weird how the Man in the Iron Mask plot kind of peters out like immediately. But I get it's not the book was not actually called The Man in the Iron Mask at the time. It was a serialized novel just called The Vicomte of Bragelonne. So arguably it's actually weirder that Raoul, the Vicomte of Bragelonne, just kind of evacuates the story for a while, so the Musketeers can do things again. But yeah, it's strange, baffling stuff involved, but I've enjoyed it nonetheless. Very, very long, a little too long.
How is it long compared to Romance of the Kingdoms?
That's a good question, actually. How many words D'Artagnan romances? Might be longer. I don't know. Might be as long. Let's see here.
It might be Algeria was integrated into France just based on the number of settler colonists there.
Oh.
This is more extensive research later, but I was just curious, so I was still looking up while you're talking.
Okay. So Simon and Schuster says that in like these new editions of the books, says 1.5 million words in total.
Okay.
So long. I think that's nearly twice as long as the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. But also they describe 20 years after as the third. Oh, they've split the Three Musketeers into two novels. That makes sense. The Three Musketeers is absolutely two novels in one. There's a reason when they made a movie they made the like 70s movie of it. They split it into two movies. And then also didn't tell the actors, and they had to name there was laws made against doing that again. Anyway, yes, that is the D'Artagnan romances. I'm done. So now I can my mum, who has been nagging me because her favorite book is The Count of Monte Cristo. She's been nagging me for years to finally finish with D'Artagnan, so I can actually get on with The Count of Monte Cristo. So I can actually do that.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to play him in multiplayer.
Yes. True. That might be us.
Yeah, I think it's us.
In which case, we can talk about Ultraman.
Yeah.
I got 3 summaries here. Let me take a drink. And I can tell you about episode 16 of Ultraman Leo, which is called Wax House, baby, featuring Alien Atla, the Black Flower Alien. Toru and a kid from next door say that there's a ghost about, and everyone in Japan is laughing at them. Toru thinks this is pretty messed up, considering Mac are always investigating strange goings-on too. Luckily for
They're
Toru,
just falling into old
Mhm.
defense team behavior.
Old classic defense team behavior is just laugh at people for presenting you with the suggestion that there might be aliens.
Hey, guys who fight aliens and kaiju, I think there might be an alien in kaiju. What? It's crazy.
It's gonna be ridiculous. Luckily for Toru, a man dies, and he gets turned into wax when he sees the ghost in question. Dan's like, uh-oh, I know what that means. It's Alien Atla. Atla is super dangerous and can wipe out entire planets by turning all its inhabitants into wax. Their breathing sounds like a ghostly wailing woman. They have no oxygen on their planet. And Gen's like, enough with the trivia. I'll go defeat Alien Atla. And Dan says, no, you can't. You'll fail. And internally he begs Gen, don't let Leo die. Atla keeps attacking civilians. Momoko is taking care of a friend's apartment when Atla attacks, right? There's got a whole spooky scene where Atla's like killing people next door. Momoko escapes the situation unharmed, rescued by Mac, but the residents of the rest of the building get wiped out. Alien Atla then transforms into a giant kaiju. Mac attacks, but it's a fruitless effort, and Dan tells Gen, don't rush in, but Gen insists he has to save civilians from Atla's wax beam. Gen transforms into Leo, and Dan uses the psychokinesis on Atla to give him a fighting chance. Dan runs out of mana, and Leo loses the fight, getting his legs turned into wax. He transforms back into Gen, and he and Dan now survey the damage. Seems like a lot of Tokyo is wrecked. Toru's friend from earlier turns up with Toru and says that he's going to fight the alien to avenge his dead family, and back at base, Gen's like, damn, I failed. And Dan's like, the fight isn't over yet. Who else will defeat Atla if not us? And Gen says, but you said, never mind, come on. The two head out to fight Atla again, and this time they win. The end.
Yeah, sometimes this could kind of end.
There's like a flower left behind by the kaiju, and Gen runs towards Dan in slow motion. But yeah, they try again, they win. The end. They don't even do anything different. They do a spin thing, but it's unclear what this was for.
Gibson writing the end of Count Zero.
yeah. You just kind of the
Bobby Newmark just summons the
Bobby
Grim Reaper
Newmark
somehow.
summons the Grim Reaper, and some shit happens in cyberspace.
Yeah.
The net. Sorry, cyberspace gets invented in the bad book.
Snow Crash.
The one. That's the one.
Yeah. I have to push my throws through my won't release at Overdrive.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you're on board with Shell by genre, you're all in.
This is who I am.
This is just who you are. This episode is mostly vibes based.
Yeah, it's got good shots of horror, but
It is like very much just like we're in like for some reason the summer is spooky season at Tsuburaya, and so we get
I feel like that's like
series.
it's often in like anime and stuff. You get like ghost stories in summer.
They do actually
horror,
the test of courage. Yeah, that's true actually. I hadn't considered that. but they also have the winter horror stories. They just like horror stories.
I mean, think about the origins of this franchise.
I'm sorry.
I do not look forward to.
It's not appropriate.
I do not look forward to watching the origins.
I'm not rewatching those. I'm good.
I know.
I might read the manga.
I know that I will inevitably watch it, but I won't enjoy it. But anyway,
there's some funny bits, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, this episode is we're mostly just here to vibe with some ghost story stuff. I quite like this alien, with the turning people into wax and stuff. And there's like this weird kind of. It's weird how much trivia Dan is like handing out about the alien, considering none of it is like actually relevant to defeating it. It's just kind of like, yeah, this is kind of just an episode about this weird alien.
Yeah, Dan, of course, always the alien encyclopedia.
Oh, it's the encyclopedic knowledge of aliens.
It is fun that like we have the through line of him doing that in 7 as the rookie. But now we have him as the mentor, so he's not a question.
He learns all about aliens so that he can defeat them. He's the racist guy from that tweet. The guy who says he's like you wouldn't even know where I'm from, and then he racist guy takes one look and says, I bet you're from Eritrea. And he's right.
Yeah.
He's Dan's on that type of shit with aliens.
I feel like this is an aside, but I feel like those are the two, like, there's like 2 tweets about like the most racist people that sound to be, and one of them is that one, like the ones who's so racist they can like pinpoint you. Where there's like the bad racist who like overgeneralize, whereas the real committed racist who can pinpoint you.
Yes.
And then I think like I've seen paired with that tweet like the screenshot from King of the Hill, where like Hank's
fucking no, yeah, he's Japanese. No, he ain't. He's Laotian, ain't you, Mr. Khan? And it's like, I don't like that he knows that. I don't like.
But then the other
absolutely terrifying knowledge for this man to have.
And then the other one the other one I can't think of is the one where it's like it's weird how much like inter-solidarity there is between racists. Like you don't have to be racist against the same people. It's just being racist is enough.
Yeah, just generally.
Even to each other.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we got ghost story shenanigans. The effects are a little budget, but considering what we've had in the past for Ultraman ghost story stuff. But I find it kind of charming. Just the kind of like the silver paint for like to show that someone's leg has been turned into wax or something. Yeah. It's like, this is very, very goofy, but okay.
Sometimes Ultraman does just on a budget have to dip into the Star Trek model of aliens.
Absolutely. Give me a sec. All right, I'm back. Where were we? Were we anywhere?
Aliens.
Oh yeah, Star Trek alien design, alien type design. Yeah. I don't have like loads to say necessarily about this one.
Yeah, I feel like this is the one where I just kind of like, I was very passive watching it. I don't have that much to say about it.
Yeah, it's enjoyable. It's got I do feel like it is strange how abruptly it ends. Just with Gen and Dan kind of first of all, Gen and Dan kind of switch positions. Gen turns into like, I guess I just can't beat this one, and Dan turns into like, no, we have to though. Someone has to. And now that they've switched positions, I guess they can beat the kaiju. It's strange. But they win. And then they have a slow motion thing where it looks like they're in love. The end.
Yeah, toxic yaoi.
Toxic yaoi. That's what it's all about, really. For me, anyway. Yeah. Who made this one? We got the screenshot sent by Brad.
By which you mean a photograph?
By which I mean photo. Yes, he did not take screenshots in real life of the booklet. It's so true. Episode 16, The Woman Who Faded into the Night. It was not actually called Wax. Spoilers, the episode was not actually called Wax House Baby. Director, Toru Toyama, and writer, Bunzo Wakatsuki.
Yeah. Special effects directors, Junoki and Atler, designed by Tetsuo Osawa.
Tetsuo Osawa, I know they didn't give you any money for this one.
Yeah.
You just had to go for it.
This is not relevant to this alien, maybe, but it is wild to me. Like, despite the limited budget, they still insist on making, like, for the show specifically, separate designs for the human size and alien and kaiju size version of aliens. They've doubled up on their workload. Also, they do keep building sets and destroying them. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of not avoidable.
There's still plenty of that. Yeah. They can manage that.
I do wonder where the impetus to, like, make two different versions of the kaiju come from, because it is, like, sometimes they look so different.
It might be a little... Because, like, Ultra 7 had a lot of, like... Because Ultra 7 could be human size.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of, like, human-sized action.
Yeah.
And so it might just be because Dan's here. Maybe we're in that mode a little bit. But then again, we didn't get many, like, separate designs between the two sizes.
When Kaiju grew big in 7, usually it was just, like, the same design.
Yeah, same design.
And same is true, like, when the aliens show up in other shows, too, usually.
For some reason, they've just decided to put in
like there's some
double the effort this time. I guess sometimes it's because the human-sized design isn't really kaiju-esque.
Yeah.
Like Alien Atlas design here would just be, we'd be hitting the giant woman counter.
Yeah, like some of them are definitely probably like one works better for human form size and one works better for...
Same with the vampire episode this week. Yeah. The second vampire episode this week.
The one that's more like an actual vampire and not
the one that's more like an actual vampire. I don't know if maybe there's something going on in Japan about vampires and werewolves, because this is not the first time werewolves basically being vampires has come up for me. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
Speaking of, do we want to get into it? Do we want to move on to the next episode, maybe?
Yeah, I feel like there's not...
Unless...
I feel like I just don't have as much to say about this episode. It's just like, oh yeah, I guess cool wax stuff. And I don't remember most of it, to be honest.
I will have some things to say about the next episode. Some of them not very nice, but, Episode 17 is called The Werewolf's Bride, featuring Alien Wolf, the werewolf. Lazy name.
Yeah, we get those.
It's just called Alien Wolf. There's a stupid looking werewolf loose, and it's operating on vampire rules, and it only attacks young women in the dead of night. The big, beastly, hungry creature tackles a woman to the floor and drains her blood while we get shots of her legs squirming.
Very cartoonishly cheap wolf costume.
Very cartoonishly cheap wolf costume. You know how this goes. Also, did you know Takeshi has a girlfriend? She's called Psycho. She's an excellent gymnast. She's invented a new flip she's calling the pinwheel, and she lives in the area where all the attacks are happening. I think the episode writes itself. Back at base, Dan is like, look guys, it's obviously not a werewolf or a vampire. Both of those are fake. Clearly, it's an alien wolf, which basically operates exactly like a werewolf-vampire hybrid, but also can occupy a person's body.
This is exactly like Dan to Dan.
Yeah. Yes. After a late-night practice for an upcoming gymnastics competition, Psycho and her friends are warned not to stay out late by Gen. Then, everyone hears howling. Gen runs off and fights the alien wolf, but it escapes. As Psycho returns home, she is attacked and possessed by alien wolf, and her mum is like, "Are you okay?" And Psycho has a vision of her running in a wedding dress and says, "I'm okay. I have become the werewolf's bride." Which seems like maybe she's not okay. On a patrol to catch the wolf, Gen chases it back to Psycho's home and sees it do the pinwheel flip. He heads inside and declares his suspicion of Psycho.
He heads inside by doing a backflip over the wall.
Yeah, he does. Declares his suspicion of Psycho, but Takeshi is there and tells Gen to get out. And Dan tells Gen it was a really stupid idea to tell Takeshi and Psycho's mother that he thought she was a werewolf. And Gen's like, "But Captain, I was 90% sure," which is a really funny number because, like, yeah, that is pretty sure, but it's also not that sure. It's like 10% uncertainty is still quite uncertain. Back at Psycho's place, Takeshi is starting to see that something is wrong. He overhears Psycho's mother talking about all sorts of crazy shit, including things like, "Well, I guess now you're a fucking werewolf, you can't marry Takeshi." And Takeshi is like, "Wow, that sucks. It sucks that she can't marry me anymore. And also, I guess that she's a werewolf." Psycho slips out of the house in wolf form, and Takeshi goes after her. Gen is on the case, though, and is going to gun down the wolf, gun down the wolf. But Takeshi is like, "No, stop, that's my girlfriend." Mac arrives, and they shoot anyway, and Psycho the wolf turns into a giant wolf kaiju with a huge pinwheel attack. Mac are getting owned, so Gen turns into Leo, and he remembers some advice from Dan earlier. A pinwheel needs air to spin, so beat it before the wind blows. And Leo's like, "Wow, that's it," and then kicks the kaiju to death. Seemed irrelevant, but okay. Takeshi mourns the corpse of the alien wolf, and Leo uses the magical Muppet lion head again to revive Psycho and, like, makes her pure again. Is like makes her marryable again. Which, the subject matter here is I would not have done this. Restores her humanity, makes her worthy of being Takeshi's bride again. Everyone is happy. The end.
Yeah, should I press the button?
Yeah.
I believe in medical miracle.
Ultraman, thank you.
Thank you, Mel. So this is I think maybe this might be the worst medical miracle we've had.
Even compared to Giro.
I don't know, because it's not just resurrecting her. It's like, I don't want to. He like cures her of being
a wolf,
like metaphorically raped.
Oh.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah.
It's like
there is that
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's Let's Watch the Horror Series. I remember that. That's the subtitle of this block of episodes.
Oh yeah. So yes, this episode is
Do we need content warnings for this episode, by the way?
We might slap a content warning on the front of this episode.
We'll see. But yeah, I guess I didn't think about like the obvious angle of like sexual assault as it refers to vampirism, even though that's like a thing that's common. I was like, oh wait, yeah, obviously. Yeah,
I was like, I kind of like tuned into it as like when you get like the opening like attack in the episode, which first of all, I think I'm fine with this episode. I quite like it. It's just this ending is ending? I'm like
like I did feel a bit like the it was a cop out to have the medical miracle.
Yeah. But the opening attack is just like you've got like her. It's the shot going up her body, like legs squirming type thing. It's just like very like kind of like a little bit horny about it. That is like I'm just like this is like classic. You've made a horror metaphor for sexual assault. So like it's that kind of thing happens in horror. It is what it is. taking it into like the kids show is maybe, I don't, this is, I personally would not, but
Yeah.
I guess some people would.
I guess for me, like I missed this angle a bit. And so for me, I was just like, oh yeah, he brings her life and cures her being a werewolf, which like maybe to some extent is like half of what the writers were doing / plausible dynamically.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Because I don't know how hard they actually think about it.
Should we check who the writer is now? Because if it's the guy that hates, if it's the guy that's like, because I know there's someone on the writing team who is like in the middle of becoming like a huge, that one, yes, Shigemitsu Taguchi. He's the guy who's like turning into like a right-wing nut job in real time as we're watching this, right?
I think I need to check. Let me just check. While you talk for a bit.
But yeah, it was basically the stuff about where she's like, well, I can't get married to Takeshi now. That's it. I'm unpure now. I've become a werewolf. Where it's just like, this is kind of like gross. Gross thing to put in the like kids show Ultraman episode. I don't, what I said I kind of like this episode. I'm not sure I do, but like also like
I feel like I was pretty
the stuff in here that I do quite like. I do actually like the like I think the werewolf attacks are like appropriately like horrifying. I think it's like good, like a good bit of like mild horror. Probably like the best from this batch of episodes, because like I think the first episode is like ghost story stuff, but it's not like, I think the best it gets is when Momoko's feeling threatened in the apartment building, and then I think the third episode is just ridiculous.
I think
but I think the shot of like the blood on the wall in this episode, I think that kind of thing in this episode is like pretty great.
Yeah, I think mostly this episode works for me. It's just like when it's like they do the cop out thing at the end that kind of like undercuts it for me.
Mm-hmm.
By taking that easy point out, like obviously like it's one of those things where it's like, well, fridging the girl isn't great, but also
once you've done it, you'd rather they commit to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
just like it's just Ultraman snaps his fingers and makes everything okay. And it's like, why can you do that sometimes and not every time?
Yeah, why can you do it for just some people sometimes when a writer feels like it? Yeah. I think the sort of that cop out, and also just kind of the latent kind of background to sort of not sneaking in some misogyny in here.
I actually don't know if it's Taguchi or Toshiro Ishido is the guy, so we might need a correction.
Okay.
But
okay. I will hereby tentatively retract my accusation that Taguchi has become like a right-wing nut job.
Like maybe it was like a bit lurid intentionally, just as a stylistic choice, but they actually put the implications when they did the healing scene.
I also say this, but like the most notorious guy who makes movies about women getting raped made some of our favorite episodes of Ultraman. Uzaki Ojisoji.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not. Maybe it's, I can't just go around saying it's the right wing guys.
Yeah.
He's a socialist. So but yeah, I guess now I should just say who directed this as well. I should just say the full thing. Director Masataka Yamamoto and writer Shigemitsu Taguchi. Mel?
We got on this end Nobuo Yojima, Wolf designed by Kengo Kime. Also got some weird trivia.
Mm-hmm.
According to wikis, this is around the point where we're getting a retool in the show, kind of.
Oh. I guess we're, like, nearing the midpoint?
Yeah. We're, like, in the... So it seems like kids weren't as receptive to the human drama, especially because the audience seemed to be younger than expected. And Leo was a big
don't listen to children. Never listen to children. Children's opinions are not to be respected.
So because of this, the Rocky series a rocky performance rating-wise for the first 16 episodes, which led to them creating the memo on strengthening the program extension plan for episode 17. Onwards, or at least for a little bit. Which seems to suggest like a reduction in like the Dan's training scenes.
There is a reduction in that, a noticeable reduction.
Even though
I don't think we have any training this week.
Yeah, the dynamic's still the same at least, but they're not. Mm-hmm. Dan isn't putting him in the device the same way, per se.
No, I wish he was still putting him in the device.
Also, apparently, all of the original Mac members, besides one of the women, Junko, stopped showing up at this point.
So this is a thing I note in, I think, the next summary is like Aoshima's gone.
Yeah.
He's just not here anymore. Gen's got like a new partner.
Yeah, we have a new partner whose name I don't know, but also Shirato from episode like 6 or something is back, and then he's been around a bit in this episode.
Oh, is he the guy that was like had beef with Gen?
Yeah, because his girlfriend died.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But yeah, they brought him back, which is fun. Mm-hmm. Also, incidentally, I do think it's fun. Like, in this episode, Dan goes, "Clearly, it's the wolf alien," and then Junko says, "Oh yeah, I know the wolf alien. It's that alien."
It's that alien. Okay, so I am a big fan of an anime that I should probably read the manga of called Shiki, which is a
Stephen
horror.
King?
No, it's not Stephen King. It's about a little country town in Japan.
No, I'm pretty sure this manga is based off Salem's Lot.
Is it based off Salem's Lot? That sounds right. To be honest, that sounds right. But it has in it a type of vampire that they refer to as werewolves.
Oh.
Because they're daywalkers, but they work in like they still work in like vampire ways, but they're called werewolves, and I'm just like, are werewolves like a way more malleable idea in Japan than they are here, right? Because I feel like werewolves are like I have a very solid idea of what a werewolf is.
Yeah, it might be. It might be they also don't care the same way because it's an imported. Like werewolves aren't a yokai; they're like a Western monster. So.
Mm-hmm. True. As are vampires, I guess.
Yeah.
I imagine there's something similar-ish, but like they seem. This is one of the aspects of Shiki that's not, I presume, is not in Salem's Lot. Maybe it's in like a different way. Is like. This countryside Japanese town is like find out that there's this strange family has moved into this new European house that's been built on the hill.
Yeah. Presumably in Salem's Lot, that's just a house.
Presumably it's just a house. the European Joker. It's like, to you, that's a European house. To me, it's just a house.
It's like when you talked about Takeshi Takano in Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah.
Relative to his other film career.
Yeah. It's like, well, yes.
In Johnny Mnemonic, he's a Japanese gangster, and in his other movies, he's just a gangster.
Yes, despite remaining a Japanese gangster in both movies. In one of them, you have to add the word, and in the other, you don't. Because it's just a gang. You can't call it a Japanese gangster when it's a Japanese movie about gangsters.
Yeah. However, for the Yakuza game, you do have to clarify it's a Korean.
You do. Oh, man.
Powers a reveal.
Have they ever had the, like, it doesn't seem, obviously the Yakuza games do not operate on, like, reality. So, like, I have like, the Mafia ever shown up?
I'll give them the
They've had triads, and they've had Korean gangsters.
Tying into our pre-call but still on mic conversation. I've only played, as far as that series is concerned, like half of Yakuza 2. I have not played the other games in that series.
Fair play.
Everything I know about Secret Koreans is secondhand information.
Maybe it should stay that way. Maybe it's more fun that way. Maybe seeing the reality is kind of depressing.
Maybe Japanese people should start being more normal about Korea.
Koreans.
haven't you done enough?
There's an Ultraman episode about this.
I guess yes. I guess that is true.
In the most grim way possible, can you please be normal?
Okinawan voice.
Why? Yeah, Okinawan voice. So why on earth did all of you kill all those Koreans that one time? Are we still talking about this episode?
I don't know anymore. I think we got. I feel bad because this feels like no. I think the quality gap is still there, so it's not as dire. But this does feel like this recording does feel like mid game Ace energy.
It's mid game Ace, but in a less derogatory way. Yeah. In like much more like this is just the episodes are good, but like there's not a lot to talk about. We might be saying that every week. In which case, it's good that we talk about stuff that's not Ultraman as well.
Yeah. It's also why Detour Quarry exists. But yeah.
It's also why Detour Quarry exists. Yeah, ultimately, I'm just kind of, I think it's fucked up that at the end of this episode, he, like, medically cures her of getting raped. It's too much. It's too much. You made a horror monster that's a metaphor for a thing, and then you had like crazy opinions about it. You were like, oh, she can't get married anymore. Okay, I think you might just hate women.
Yeah.
Anyway, time to talk about Vampires Real.
Yeah.
Episode 18 is called Vampire Batgirl Kyun, featuring Baton, the Bat Kaiju. It's a scorcher.
Just an interjection. Wasn't there an alien bat? Wasn't that like the end of Return of Ultraman?
Alien bat. Yes. Alien bat summons Zeton, right?
Yeah. And the episode starts with like Rumiko and Jiro being kidnapped, and Jiro's like, "Hey, remember when we got kidnapped?"
Oh yeah.
As you know, we were kidnapped by alien bat.
The finale of Return of Ultraman is like a little strange for a show that is like we like.
This is also true of Taro, though.
This is also true of Taro. I mean, the Taro. I think the last episode of Taro is iconic, despite it being a ridiculous mess.
Who is Alien Valkyrie?
Who the fuck was that? What was it doing here? Why did it have beef with Taro? It's a scorcher, and the sky is filled with bats that are filtering the sun or something. Max shoots down loads of bats, and Gen's like, did we get all the bats? And his new partner, who is absolutely not Aoshima, says, probably. Also, who cares? What can one bat do? This is an episode about what one bat can do. Momoko, Toru, and Kaoru are out walking and help a woman who they find by the side of the road. She says not to call the police or a hospital or anything like that because she's on the run from a dangerous man. And Toru is like, I've been talking to a boy called Jiro, and I find this woman's story suspicious. Momoko doesn't listen, and they take the woman home with them. Momoko takes care of her, and when the family's out of the house, she throws away all her food and kills Toru's canary. She's a vampire bat. A vampire bat vampire. Toru tries to tell Momoko she's strange. She's got burn wounds, and they found her on the day Mac were shooting down bats. He tries to tell Gen about it, and Momoko is like, whoa, remember, she's on the run from a dangerous man. Don't tell anyone about her. Momoko does concede, however, it's a little strange that this woman basically never eats. Toru discovers his canary is dead. R.I.P. Canary. The vampire starts drinking blood around town, and as we all know, this creates vampires, and the only way to cure those vampires is to inject them with the blood of the original vampire.
I'm sure Vampire the Masquerade is all about this, right?
Yeah. Definitely. The vampire
Also
turns
Blade.
Toru and Kaoru into vampires, and then turns Momoko a little later. Gen stops by to check up on the family and make sure they're safe, realizes they've been turned, and escapes. He then runs right into the vampire, who turns into a giant kaiju. Gen turns into Leo, and they have a big fight. The vampire's got this wing push move, and it's causing Leo problems, but Leo seems like he's got a good shot at winning. However, he can't just destroy this kaiju. He tackles it to the ground and summons an ultra syringe and takes the kaiju's blood. Then he kicks it to death. Later, using the blood, all the turned vampires are saved, except presumably the ones who got killed by angry mobs, which were briefly implied in like a single shot earlier in the episode.
Yeah, speaking about that old episode of Return of Ultraman.
Yes. The moment I saw people with sticks just beating up a stranger in the street, I was like, this reminds me of an episode of Ultraman.
Yeah, this reminds me of an uncomfortable period in Japanese history.
Yeah. Walking alongside a road, Gen, Momoko, Toru, and Kaoru all hear a cry once again, but this time Toru refuses to help. Momoko wanders into the grass and comes out with a cute little dog, and Toru's like, she'll never learn. The end.
Yeah. Remind me in like 5 minutes when we're doing trivia to actually complete the second half of my trivia. I forgot to.
Oh, lol.
Because we got distracted.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. We were having fun here. I just remembered like midway through your summary, I was like, wait a minute, I didn't actually finish what I was saying.
Lol.
I guess in some way this episode is more normal.
This episode is more normal. I think less impressive also.
Yeah, like it's especially coming after like the werewolf one. It's just like a weaker episode. I just don't. It just ends in a more less controversial way.
Yeah,
but also
I think
Leo bringing out an entire syringe that's like as big as a building is really funny.
It's really good. I don't think the pressure's gonna work. I think you like what's the length of someone figured out the length of straw at which if you sucked any fluid through it, it would turn into like extremely hot gas instead, just from the pressure. I don't think the physics of this syringe has been thought through.
Turning my Coke into gas sounds really fun.
Yeah. It's not extremely hot gas. It's going to be painful to drink / inhale. So yeah, you got this vampire woman who's living with this. I need a quick term. I keep having to say Momoko, Toru, and Kaoru. I need a quick term for this newfound family.
The fam.
The fam. Okay, that's what I'm going with from now on.
Okay, it is settled.
That's gonna show up in summaries from now on. Is the fam. So yeah, the fam. She's got this vampire living among them, and Toru's the only one who thinks she's kind of fucking strange. And this is kind of like, I don't know, this episode feels weirdly brief.
Yeah.
In terms of like, it doesn't get much out of the having an alien vampire living with the family.
I do think it's fun that she just dumps her food outside.
She just dumps the food outside for the dog to eat. I don't think the dog's necessarily gonna eat all that food, like all that food. I think some of that
Was that
food
dog
is
Ron?
not food. Was that dog Ron?
I was also confused because I remember what's up with them finding a dog at the end of the episode when they already have a dog.
They find the dog at the end of the episode. Is the dog they find at the end of the episode also Ron? Did Ron go missing?
They didn't think it does. Maybe it's a poaching situation.
Are they just acquiring more dogs? Will this, if this show ends with the reveal that Momoko has loads of dogs?
I wish the writers of this era would have the vision for a joke like that. A long game joke.
Yeah. They need a little too much
I think the
cooperation
only
between the
version
writers.
of this I can think of is like Jisoji doing the second version of the blowing up gag in Skydawn after he did it the first time.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, but Jisoji's just got.
He has it in a way others don't.
In ways that other people don't. Which means that even when he's being weird about women, I'm like, oh, Jisoji. Oh, Jisoji, never mind.
It's like us with Tomino.
Let me see your excellent episodes of Ultraman. Remember the fucking... Yeah, go for it.
Like with us with Tomino.
Like us with Tomino.
when you corrected yourself from saying our misogynist.
Correct. Yeah, there was an episode that just me and Mel recorded where mid-sentence, as I was about to talk about Tomino, and I was about to say, that's our misogyny, I corrected myself to something else, and got a message from Brad like an hour after the pod went up, and said, were you about to say that's our misogyny? It's like, guilty, Your Honor. That was exactly what I was about to say. So yeah, Jisoji, that's, I'll let that one slide.
Despite the fact that he sees Jisoji an influence, Hideaki Anno, not our misogyny.
No, that's its own thing. That's its own man.
It's like a me.
That second Ava movie is fucking crazy. You gotta be like way more chill about how much you want to fuck Asuka, please, for the love of God.
Yeah, it's just like me when I compare like Frank Herbert's weird right-wing libertarian ideas with Dan Simmons, where Dan Simmons is just that much more normal, and therefore I just like, nah. Herbert's got like the weird insanity. He's got something. There's something unhinged in him that leads him to new and unforeseen places. I did start Dune Messiah on Friday. Excellent.
I've got like a decent length commute, so I should be done probably next week.
Yeah.
It's a short one. It was like I went from The Man in the Iron Mask, which is like 600 pages of like the tiniest writing with like the page thickness was like Bible.
Yeah, like when you look at the length of
Yeah.
Messiah, you realize, oh yeah, this was supposed to be like a thing staple to the end of the first book.
Yeah. It's weird. I'm like, it's like there's a part of me that's like I probably didn't need this, but also there's a part of me that's like, ooh, shit, ooh, this is a Shakespearean tragedy.
Yes.
There is a downfall signaled at the beginning of the book, and now I get to watch it unfold.
Yeah. Which version of the books are you using? Like, which covers are you using? Do you have?
The 50th anniversary cover of Dune. Hang on. I've just got the ones that are like available in Britain. 50th anniversary.
Are they like the stylistically simple ones?
Yeah, the simple ones. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'm like less into the ones that the ones that are so like Dune Messiah. The cover I've got is this. Let me post this in. This is like a purple cover with like a the guy with the blue eyes.
Oh, that's cool. I was thinking of like these just the modern ones that I'm like, these are boring in comparison, but I think I really fuck with these 50th anniversary.
Oh yeah, the ones we got in the UK are kind of cool. I'm kind of into them. Let me post the original, the first Dune one is fantastic, and thankfully I've got it in these ones. I've seen these ones around. Yeah,
I
don't
care for them as much. They're kind of cool, but I don't like them as much. I think
these are the ones that
I didn't know about these ones until you just shared, and like
yes,
these are so cool. Actually, as far as stylistic ones go, these are like probably like
these are great. The copy of Dune that I've got, it thankfully has got without the little tag on it saying now a major motion picture.
The one that if I was to collect Dune, I would like are these
the old school.
Yeah, this collection specifically right here. These are the ones I want.
Yeah, I mean that fucking like Chapter House Dune cover is like.
However, if I was to pick the second one, I'd pick the ones you posted. Like these look really sick.
Yeah, I sometimes looking at like covers for books in like. Okay, we are no longer talking about. I apologize to the listeners. We're no longer talking about Ultraman. American covers. Farseer trilogy.
At some point, we'll inevitably fall into doing some form of Dune content.
Yeah. So, look at this fucking. Some of the covers I have seen for like the Farseer trilogy.
Okay.
Are just like real people. Just on the like. Look at this.
Okay. Oh, jeez.
Awful.
Yeah.
Awful. I have never seen those here. The only versions of these books I have seen look like this. Hang on.
That's good.
So like it's like some cover differences between like in Britain versus America are like such a weirdly different. I like Brandon Sanderson books in Britain all have this unified style that I think aren't appropriate now that I've read Brandon Sanderson.
Oh, I was just peeking at like Dan Simmons covers, and I'm like, there's exactly one of these I like. Can you guess which one?
Oh, okay. Hang on, let me go into these images. Okay, I think, is it the top left?
Yes.
Yes. The top right one.
I'm sorry for the audience.
Shit. Yeah, you can't see any of these pictures. Basically, I want you Google Ilium Dan Simmons and look at covers. You'll see one that's like a weird. There's like a green helmet.
Yeah, the green Corinthian helmet.
There's one that's like two people fighting, lame, and then there's one that's like someone standing looking at like ruins, and that one's good.
Yeah, with like the red sky.
Yeah.
I'm like, at some point I gotta take the plunge of that book. It's just like both long, and I'm afraid.
Oh, it's long, and you've had it's been such disappointing returns on Dan Simmons for you.
Yeah, like,
ever since that first book.
Because like I said, he's like not. He's not
crazy enough.
He's just like a normal Republican. Which I guess maybe because these books are post 9/11, maybe he'll get like, maybe that sauce will be there, but also in like the ways I don't actually enjoy. The bad way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. He'll inevitably be worse about Muslims.
somehow, despite what I already know about him.
It's funny because like in the Hyperion books in the 80s, he's like a really weird derogatory about them. And then in the 90s books, he like seems to mellow out a bit because the plot is like about like the fascistic genocidal Catholic Church. But presumably he just gets worse again after 9/11.
You know who doesn't have any normal feelings about Muslims?
Who?
Frank Herbert.
That's true. He's different.
He's just different. He's just on some other shit.
I would say that Dan Simmons specs it out with instead having really not normal feelings about Jewish people.
Oh no! Oh no!
In like the
not those ones.
in like the I don't know how like religious he is, but like, you know, American Republicans relationship
who are really invested in Israel.
Invested in Judeo-Christian culture. I'm sure you also remember the same passage mentioning.
I remember it very clearly. The one where it describes something and it could easily have just taken like a kind of dispassionate approach to it, and instead it just inserted like a couple of words in there to indicate that it takes a side.
And like it's weird because it's like one of the emotional cores of the original Hyperion duology is like the one like philosopher, not academic guy who's like has like his child going through Belgian butt syndrome. Man, it's like he's him struggling with like spirituality and his faith, and he just happens to be Jewish. And it's like, oh, this is pretty well considered and thoughtful. And then you find out the greater context. It's like, actually, this maybe makes this a bit weirder.
Wow, I don't know how we got here. It was via Dune.
Yeah.
We have to figure. So
I think it's because we likened. It's because I likened Tomino and Jisoji to Herbert in relation to.
And we
Dan
got
Simmons.
onto weird. Yes, we got onto our feelings about various different like big creative figures. And obviously, when we do that, we eventually make it to Frank Herbert and. Yeah,
I'm the only one who has put this much time into Dan Simmons.
No,
that's not true.
Yeah, I would. There's
definitely like book.
Maybe
people.
I would. Yeah, maybe I would read Hyperion, but also I'm just like, maybe I'll skip Simmons. I don't have infinite years in my life.
Yeah.
I'll read what's it instead? The other guy who's like super Catholic. Gene Wolfe.
Yeah, that's probably better.
Yeah.
I think Gene Wolfe was probably like also strange.
Yes.
Though I guess I think he probably just ends up being in the AG Super Rad place.
Mm-hmm. Wow. This episode of Ultraman.
Yes. Was made by.
Let me just get this little bit out of the way first. Scroll up past all these Dune covers. Director Masataka Yamamoto, writer Bunpei Ai,
special effects director Nobuo Ijima, baton designed by Tetsuo Osawa. Gonna finish off what I started for the last episode.
Go for it.
Yeah, everyone of the original MAC members besides Junko Shirakawa stopped showing up. This seems to be a time when the oil crisis was hitting, and so cutting costs maybe. At this point, I'm like, I don't know who to trust at which point the oil crisis is getting really bad. But I guess they maybe are worried about costs a bit more, which maybe means cutting some of the cast. But also, is this the part where we start shifting towards more drama and less special effects? I don't know. We don't get it in this episode, that's for sure.
Yeah, these episodes are weirdly low on the drama.
It might be downstream.
These feel like the most normal episodes of Ultraman. When I say normal episodes of Ultraman, what I mean is in form.
Yeah.
Because we don't really have the Leo trappings in these episodes. It's a little strange transition period.
I have hope.
Just
based on the fact that, like, presumably Leo sickos are still sickos because the Leoness stays throughout in some form.
Yeah, I mean, we might be experiencing the mess of Leo live in terms of, like, we had 2 weeks where we were like, wow, this is like the best one, and then we had 2 weeks where we were like, and then we had a week where we're like, yeah, we're back.
Yeah.
And now we're having another week where it's like,
Yeah, it's hard to tell, like, what the relationship is when it's, like, weekly versus, like, batches weekly. Just to close it off, it does seem like this plan that, at least according to the Ultra Wiki, debuted episode 17, was not actually successful and may have only lasted 5 episodes, and they may have shifted course again after that.
oh my
So
God.
we'll see what happens in a few episodes, I guess.
Yeah. Give it a...
I didn't look too far, but it does look like whatever they're doing in the 20s seems to have worked better than what they're doing here. So,
Okay. Well, we'll get our first taste of that next week.
yes, true.
Hopefully.
I guess
Fingers
I guess
crossed.
next batch would be like the last. If I'm taking the wiki's word and that, like, this is like 5 episodes starting with 17, then like next week we gotta get the rest of this experiment out of the way.
The rest of the experiment, and then like one little hint at what the future is gonna be.
Well, no, I think if it's 5 episodes, then it'd be like, because we had 2 this batch.
Oh, I miscounted. I was like, yeah, the first episode this week was 17.
No.
Nope, incorrect.
No.
I know my 3 times tables.
I remember that time where Brad also got math wrong and you replayed it back.
I do. I completely forgot when I replayed Brad's back.
That was in
slow motion.
I think that was the Stolen Ultra episode.
We have fun on this show.
Yeah.
This episode itself is kind of just okay.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
It's more generic vampire stuff after like the more interesting vampire stuff. That's also werewolf stuff.
The more like involved vampire stuff, which wasn't a vampire. You know, I would have. You know, whatever. I like vampires. I think vampires are cool. I think we haven't had the best showing of vampires.
It also feels weird to have
time.
them back to back, which seems to be a thing we complain about a lot on this
Yeah,
franchise.
stop. You have to spread out your ideas. Guys, what are you doing? You can't... They should not do the spooky seasons. They shouldn't do them. They should spread them out.
I don't think this survives Leo.
Thank God.
It does. I mean, I guess it makes sense when like the show takes a break for 5 years. It's just going to be different when we get to the 80s for one season.
No more winter horror, scary, spooky story season series.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I titled that episode.
It is funny because
it's
it's. Hold on, let me find it actually. Oh, good.
It was in like, was it in Ace or Return? It was one of them.
It was like Ace. Episode 70. Winter horror, scary, snowy, spooky series, mystery story season.
I shouldn't laugh at my own jokes, but I'm funny.
I think when there's a time delay,
I'm
you're
pretty
allowed to
pleased with
laugh.
that. Yeah. There's a great story. Bernie Burns told a great story. The creator of Red vs. Blue, one of the founding members of Rooster Teeth, told a great story about watching Red vs. Blue way later there was like a special showing of like the full like the remastered series in like a theater or something.
Yeah.
And he was just sat at the back of the theater and he had forgotten all the jokes that he'd written. But because they were jokes he found really funny, he was like the guy in the theater laughing the most at his own jokes that he wrote like 20 years ago.
That's fun.
Or something. Like 10 years ago. And he was like, it was really embarrassing, but like, I clearly I just thought I thought those jokes were really funny 10 years ago, and I thought they were really funny now too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we might be done talking about Ultraman.
Clearly, we've been done talking about Ultraman for 20 minutes.
For a while. You wanna tell me about some color timers?
Episode 16, 3 minutes 19 seconds, and then also 19 seconds.
There we go.
Episode 17, 4 minutes 45 seconds. Episode 18, 4 minutes 49 seconds.
That's so long. That's so long.
The old crisis.
That
You can only go
fully
2 minutes 40 seconds.
That explains perfectly why the last episode feels like the vampire stuff is so brief. Like a whole fifth of the episode is fight.
They reduced
Cut it out.
the timer.
They found out that kids weren't interested in watching good TV, so they made a bad episode. And apparently that didn't work either. So we'll find out in a couple of weeks.
Enjoy your ultra slop.
What they course correct to. Enjoy your ultra slop. So true. Do we have any emails?
Let me check. Actually, no, we do. I got notifications. I still know of. Oh yeah, we have the one from we have the one from Streets from last week, which I'll do first.
Oh yeah.
He said, "Wow."
Is this about the retool?
Yeah, he just said, "Anywho, welcome to the post first quarter Leo retool, hooray!" In saying that things aren't exactly changing much from the last few episodes, so at least I hope you'll find the show entertaining. At least, that was true of last week, not so much this week.
Not so much this week. This week's kind of, you know.
He says in last week's email that he'll email us again this week, but he hasn't done that. So I guess better luck next time.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You're busy.
Yeah. I really wish the most, like, visually interesting and, like, engaging episode this week wasn't the one that I felt was kind of, like, thematically rancid.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, you know, it's the 70s.
It's the 70s.
And not,
sometimes
in,
you
like,
make
the
a
Western
horror
bloc.
episode about how sometimes you make an episode about how a woman is now unpure and can't get married anymore.
Yeah. Well, this next email comes from Cross Zeta, who unfortunately they're a bit weak. This is an arc movie email.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, hello, God's strongest soldiers, Cross Zeta here. That is us.
That is us. That is what the group chat is called. I'm glad someone remembers.
Yeah, we didn't come up with it, for the record.
Who did come up with it?
I think it's M.
Oh, it might have been.
It
was about. Yes, I remember. It was M saying they could never make this podcast because they would just be miserable all the time, watching this much Toku every week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe we're not God's strongest soldiers. Maybe we're God's most masochistic soldiers. I don't know. We just invite the pain.
Now my voice, I'm not a masochist like you. Anyway. Emails. I am mostly shocked at how well an anthology movie worked for me. For the Ultraman arc movie, might be in part due to how this gave me a bit more arc, but a bit more of a hangout show. Ishido and Shu. I think you got those names wrong. I think he means Shu and Yuma. Should just kiss already.
What if Ishido and Shu kissed though? What if he split into two people and he could be his own boyfriend?
So finally, someone who actually likes coffee.
Oh my! Finally.
He does say also well that he's more optimistic in Ultra than he has been last 4.5 years. So that's nice.
I've just devised a communist horror sci-fi film about every the government gives every communist a clone of themselves so that they have someone who is the exact same communist as them, and then within like one day they've deviated. and now we'll all kill each other.
Well, it's okay. Like, contradictions heighten and resolves themselves.
They you could via self-cest.
Yeah. Sometimes it's toxic, Yahweh self-cest.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm glad people are at least feeling optimistic about stuff post-arc. But I also wonder how much that's like a divergence of people's taste from our own.
Mm-hmm. It's with our thoughts are recorded for all time, not for all time, for as long as the internet remains.
Yeah.
Which might not be very long. We'll see.
We'll see.
But we're kind of down on it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. We'll see how the next show is. Anyway.
Yeah.
Top 5 kaiju.
Contractually.
Yes, contractually. Starting from the bottom. 5 Canagon, 4 Gibbous, 3 Zangil, 2 Swede, and 1 Sascal. I remember being like, yeah, I just vibe with Sascal a lot.
Sascal's fun.
Yeah.
I like Sascal. Sketch.
Oh, this last one's from Tep. Giving a subject line that's the plot of every episode this week, Evil Women.
Ah. We like evil women.
Yeah. Maybe not this week, though.
Maybe. Well, one of the women this week wasn't even evil. She was just victim.
Yeah.
She was just, rip.
Anyway. Knowledge Q. I like last week's episodes a lot, with Gen figuring out vibes and invisibility on his own, and then again this week with Gen's attack on Atlar against Dan orders. I think we're going to see Gen slowly get more genetically independent from Dan. I don't know how intentional development is, but I know there's a steady growth in Gen's own abilities. Speaking of, I love the Atlar episode. Feel like it should have been the start of the Ultra Horror series, which is a good point. Why is they have a horror episode adjacent to the horror series that's not part of the horror series? I think this is not the first time this happened.
Wait, is Wax House Baby not part of the horror series?
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like this is the second time this happened to us. When I think about it,
just why can't they just do anything right? Why
are we doing this?
Why can't they do fucking anything right ever? Subaraya, get your shit together.
Werewolf's Bride is fun. The fursuit adds certain je ne sais quoi that I quite enjoy. Batgirl is especially with her fleeing a bad man being framed suspiciously. That said, for me, it wraps around to being fun with mix-up lore. People bitten by vampires become vampires. Yeah, sure, whatever you say. As the Atlar episode established, everything that happens is real. I like Evil Woman. If I were an Ultra Sage, I would be an alien seductress, though I don't think the traditional seductress techniques would work much on Gen. He's drawn the kind of pure heart like Momoko and Dan, of course. So clearly the ways to get to Dan's heart instead. Anyway, if you were an Ultraman Leo alien, what kind of training would Gen have to do to defeat you? Which is different kind of...
I do have this is a new kind of question. I do have feedback on the seductress thing. One of the very famous seductresses of fiction is from the Three Musketeers. Milady de Winter. But having read the Three Musketeers, the thing that is notable about her famous seduction of a character to escape prison and assassinate someone is that she doesn't do it sexy. She does it by figuring out that he's a Puritan and faking being Protestant and oppressed by her Catholic brother. So you can find ways of seducing someone who's not, by not being like, not the classic style. You can find new ways. I believe in you.
Thank you for this.
So What was the question again?
If you were an alien in Leo, what kind of training would Gen have to do to beat you?
Okay. What kind of training would Gen have to do to beat me? Gen would have to undergo training to... This is a very good question, but now I'm a little stuck on it.
Yeah.
I might have to consider this and maybe come back to it next week.
I don't know what my abilities would be.
Because it's a two-pronged question. It's asking us to develop ourselves as an OC, as an alien in the show, and then what training would Gen have to do?
Yeah. Or like, what are my powers?
I think, unfortunately, I can't go on astrology based because the Scorpion's already taken.
Yeah.
The Scorpion was very cool. That's, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. All I'm saying is, Scorpions are cool.
Yeah.
And maybe fish.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's room for them.
There's room for fish.
Yeah. I do think scales are ridiculous.
Scales are ridiculous. Just as a general position?
In astrology, like, not even an animal.
Oh, I see.
Get out of here.
Okay. I understand. I'm gonna have to think. I'm gonna have to think about
to train by going to the library and reading up on history.
Would Gen have to? The thing is, it might be gaming related. It might be like Gen has to like.
Gen has to fight.
But then
Gen has to fight the communist alien. His training is a struggle session.
Oh man. God, that would be good though.
It would be.
Dan would just get all the fucking Mac officers in on it, and they'd be so into it because Gen usually gets special treatment.
Yeah.
Man, that would be great. For me, I'm just like, I don't know. It would just... I'm gonna have to think. I need some kind of special attack, is the thing. I will have to think about this and come back. I will come back with an answer next week. This is part of my project.
Yeah, and then Brad can also answer.
And then Brad can also... Well, Brad has only a few days.
That's fine.
Brad, it's Thursday. You better have an answer in time. Thank you for your email.
And yeah, that's everything.
Is that all that's all the emails this week? That is everything this week. This has been a strange episode of Ultra Q, but I think it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
It's been not very much about Ultraman, but it's got a good energy to it.
Leo's in transition, so were we question mark?
Exactly. That means different things in this context.
I guess so. Better see my doctor about that. Anyway.
All right. Well, that is going to be it this week. If you want to follow the show online, you can do so on Twitter at @ultra_QUEUE or on Blue Sky at @ultraQUEUE, no underscores on Blue Sky. I am also on Blue Sky. I am at Red November. Those are my plugs this week. Mel.
Hi, you can follow me at DCrowns on both Twitter and Blue Sky. We have email ultrapod@gmail.com, and we have the coffee, the UltraQ fund, that's theoretically towards getting subtitles done. Stuff seems to be happening in the background, despite that, the lack of funding. But
yeah, Do we want to briefly mention this, or shall we? Is that?
Yeah, it's the thing that dropped yesterday is like a thing that's like too far off to really like worry about.
Can't really go bragging about it just yet.
Yeah, it's like okay. Don't worry, kitten, etc. But also stuff.
Okay. Yay.
But also stuff I'm less involved with. That I've done some preliminary assistance with is happening in the background as well. That maybe insert into coverage.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll talk about it when it's.
There's stuff in the works.
People don't know what that one is.
Brad is on.
We'll see.
Yeah. Brad is online everywhere at Be Invoked, including on YouTube, where he will soon be streaming, talking about F1 all the time. Yeah, presumably.
Right when he gets his next Elden Ring Let's Play entry
out. Yeah. It's Elden Ring and F1. Though that's it now. 3 more episodes of Ultraman Leo is what's coming next week.
Yeah.
And that is it. Once again, nothing happening for a while yet. Other than that, it's just 3 every week.
Yeah. And I guess like a couple of weeks we got Golden Kamuy.
I gotta read some manga.
Yeah, I gotta read.
I've already read the first 10 volumes at some point.
Yeah, I read.
So I should read the first 6. Reread those first 6.
Yeah, I read the first one this past week, so I need to read the next 5.
What'd you get up to?
We get an officer.
An officer.
An officer's revealed.
Okay.
After there's been some hijinks. We just get we just get a shot of, I assume, the arc antagonist faced.
You got the general idea of what Golden Kamuy is laid out.
Cool. As Espira very often calls Tsukimoto the Ainu to Japanese equivalent of a white boy.
Golden Kamuy's good.
Yeah.
I don't, obviously I don't know how it winds up, but, it's got a long way to go.
I haven't heard people say they hate the ending, so,
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
There's some crazy shit I know about Golden Kamuy coming that is I can't wait to talk about it.
I'm so in the dark, which makes this really excellent.
Yeah. I remember there was some podcast where, this is the second time M has come up on this podcast, where M said that they weren't really into the idea of reading Golden Kamuy because it sounds like dry history.
Oh yeah, I remember that
one. I don't know that you know what Golden Kamuy is.
Yeah, known historical stuff like the Escape King.
The Escape King Shiraishi. What a cool guy.
One among many.
One among many. All right, we gotta go.
Yeah.
That is it for the podcast. Goodbye.
Later.